It's morning here for me anyway. It's podcast day. It's podcast day. Welcome in, friends. Welcome one and all to the heyBrownBerry YouTube channel. My name is Marceline, and I am very, very grateful to welcome you here to my little corner of the internet. This is my online making journal, and I share here about projects that I'm working on, projects that I'm thinking about working on, and share with you when those projects actually get finished. So I'm glad that you've decided to join me. This episode, I'll be talking a bit about spinning and knitting. When I'm recording this, it has been several weeks of amazing athletic feats being performed by people all around the world. In July, some of you may have seen in a previous episode that I took part in Tour de France, which followed the Tour de France cycling race for men. And then early August brought the Olympics. Anybody out there watch the Olympics? I've pretty much watched some events every day, and I am finding, as a dear friend said to me, that stitching and sporting events go really great together. So I've had some lovely, relaxing moments watching athletes at their best while working on my projects, and finished my recent garment knit, which I featured in the last episode, a Rugen top, and made progress on some more of my spinning. Now, I will try my best to organize how we talk about these things, but we're not super formal here. I generally want to share with you where I am with certain projects, talk through them, tell you what's going well, maybe what's not. So why don't we dive right in? A couple of things before I start sharing with making related items. I am recording this very early in the morning, so I've got a different light source than usual. I think it's working out okay, but if you see any shadows and so on, it's because I've had to use a supplemental light instead of the natural light that normally comes from my window over there. So I will do my best to make sure that you can still see things clearly, but I'm really glad to have the flexibility to record whenever. And another thing that I love when I watch other making podcasts is when the podcaster shares what they're wearing. So I almost forgot to do that. I am wearing a top that I made called Hadid, and this is a design by Lana Joy. I have featured this as I was nearly finishing it. Oh, nope, I've totally got that wrong. Everything I said about that top is true. I love it. This is actually Citrine. Sorry about that. This is Citrine, and I will put the details about it in the description box below. And I have made a short sleeve version. It's a sweater that has long sleeves in the original pattern, but I adore the twisted rib detail on this top. And it's a pretty simple silhouette. It has some twisted rib along the side seams and pretty plain front and back. But the textured stitches along the raglan, favorite, Citrine. I would absolutely make this again. This yarn is a Mayak yarn, and it drapes really nicely. And it actually is, I think, a multi-season type top. It's not too warm. It's a nice layer. So I can highly recommend it based on how the pattern was written and how it fits. And I'm actually very glad that I modified for the short sleeve. I will say that the sleeve measurements in the original pattern were part of why I did not make it a long sleeve. The sleeve was meant for a very narrow fit, and I have a little more arm than maybe proportionally you see in certain patterns, and it was intentionally a narrow fit. That was the style. That's not what I was going for. If I made it again, I would absolutely make a long sleeve version and just adjust the sleeve stitch count to fit me. So that's Citrine. All right, on to my works in progress. It feels nice to stand up for a change and do this. Kind of cool. I've been working at a standing desk at work this week, and when I initially did it, I could feel some lower back discomfort, and it was a little hard to get used to, but by the end of the week I really enjoyed it. I see what everybody's been on about. So I have in this lovely heavy canvas project bag my latest knitting work in progress. I wish that I could remember where I got this bag and pin, but I don't. Sorry about that. I wish I could share the maker with you, but I love this little sheet pin. And the heavy canvas of this bag makes it one of those really nice ones that you can stand up on a table or even on the floor, so you can pull your yarn out. And in here, I'm going to share something that is, I'm going to share it in a way that's meant to be a bit of an accountability share, because I'm going to show it to you now, and then my intent is to steam it and show you the difference between kind of unblocked and blocked, and that is my motivation to do that before the end of this podcast, which means it'll be done today as I intended. I am making the Twofer tank by Heidi Kiermaier of Heidi K Designs, and it is a top-down tank top construction. I'll put a picture of it over here in its original state and as Heidi intended, and I'm pretty much knitting it to pattern in the sense that I'm not changing a lot about the construction or anything like that. I am making some modifications to the sizing. I just dropped the tiny little yarn ball I have left on my first skein. So the way you're going to see it now looks a little jumbled up and nothing at all like a top. I am making it on a US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needle, circular, and it's probably, I would say yes, this is the first time that I am knitting this kind of top-down construction for a sleeveless top. As you saw in the picture, it's being shown with the V-neck up front, but it also has kind of a square neckline, which you can wear to the front or to the back. So I love that immediately. Two ways to wear one top, which is why it's called the Twofer tank. And because it's being knit from the top down, you start with the shoulder straps. The light is giving it a much brighter color in this yarn. So this is the V-neck, which I intend to wear at the front. And then there is the square neckline, which I intend to wear at the back, but could wear at the front. And the pattern has some just amazing details. I am always so blown away by how designers come up with these elements, these design elements. It has this lovely slip stitch patterning in the square neckline, which is just a nice splash of texture and change. It has some knit as you go I-cord edging on the straps, and even on the V-neck it has some eyelet detail for the increases. And you start with the front straps, you create the V-neck and put that aside, and then you start making the back shoulder straps and neckline, and then you join everything in the round under the underarms so that you can start knitting down for the body. I love this for several reasons. Heidi's pattern is extremely well written. It's got a lot of tips and tricks in it, which is near and dear to my heart because that's how I write my sock patterns. And it also has little reminders of places where if you want to modify for a deeper armhole, deeper or a shallower V-neck, Heidi lets you know, at this point in the pattern, if you're planning to make a change like this or like that, this is the place to do that, which takes away so much extra thinking, and I love that. The reason I wanted to show it to you in its very curly, kind of bunched up state, because the stockinette is rolling in, is because I want to steam block this in its current state and just kind of see everything flattened out and see how the yarn behaves. I like the fabric that this US 3 needle is creating, so I don't plan to make any changes there for the body, but I've got a lot of ends hanging off and other things that just make it a bit fiddly as I'm trying to knit, and I'm at the point where I have joined in the round. It's really like it's really like this, you know, I've joined in the round so that I can knit round and round on the body. Very much looking forward to that simple stitching. I was so motivated yesterday to get to that point, because that's the point at which I can really do more relaxed knitting and I can watch more sports and knit. So I want to just relax everything out to make it easier to work with it. And I also want to see how it's going to behave when it's blocked. My intent is to be able to show you that before this podcast ends. We'll see how that goes. Now, I'm toning down my lighting a little because I want to show you the yarn that I'm using, and I'd love to give you a good idea of what it actually looks like. This color is still a bit brighter, but I will bring it closer to the camera so you can see this Island Twist yarn from Skagit Woolen Works, which is what I'm using for my tank. You can get the idea that it is an oatmeal kind of color, beige with some gray undertones. And I heard someone online refer to this color as grayish. Grayish beige seems perfectly appropriate. That is a really good description. I always say oatmeal, but grayish just sounds like exactly what this looks like. Island Twist is a Skagit Woolen Works limited edition yarn. It's 100% Puget Sound wool with a hint of alpaca for a lush, cozy fabric, and hand-selected, processed, and spun in the Skagit Valley, which is in the Pacific Northwest here in the US. This color is called Toffee. There are different colorways, and it's white Romney and rose gray alpaca, a 75-25 blend. It's a sport weight yarn, and actually the Twofer tank calls for a DK weight yarn. So that already kind of set one of the modifications that I wanted to make. I really wanted to use this yarn. I love this Romney alpaca blend for some drape, but actually the Romney gives it some structure and the alpaca lends some drape, and I think that's a nice combination for a top that I will probably wear as something more casual. And I didn't want to just move to another yarn choice. I actually bought this for a different top, and the sport weight wasn't going to work out for that. But for the Twofer tank, the way the pattern is written and the way the measurements were set out, I realized I could just knit a size up from the size I wanted. So knit the larger numbers for the size large in the pattern, which will give me the second medium size, which is the one that I want for not too close a fit, but more fitted than not. And this yarn's fabric on a US 3 needle is exactly what I was looking for. Very, very happy that so far this is working out. Once I steam block it a little bit and see it kind of laid out a little flatter, that will really tell me, before I go all the way into the body knitting, if things are working out the way I hope. So we'll see. The next project I'll share is a spinning project with a similar theme. I'm going to show it to you in its current state with the hopes that I can move it along and progress it along before the end of this video. I am spinning for 3-ply yarn, and I'm spinning some Marina Skua blend fibers. I bought a braid of Shepherd's Delight, which is a Marina Skua blend fiber from Making Stories web shop, and I felt really lucky to get it. There were some beautiful colors. Shepherd's Delight had all of my favorite jewel tones in it, so that was an easy choice. And I am spinning the third of the 3 plies. So first of all, my goal is to be able to show you this spindle finished once I spin up this remaining bit of fluff by the end of the podcast, because the Tour de France Femmes is about to start. And I'm in a couple of groups online where we will be spinning together as the women cyclists race. It's a 1-week race beginning in Belgium, I believe. And during the next week, my intent will be ply these all together into a 3-ply. This will be the second skein in a project that I started during Tour de France. So if all goes well, those singles will turn into a 3-ply that looks something like this. This first skein is half of the braid spun up into a traditional 3-ply. It's about 20 wraps per inch, and this is just over 40 grams. So I'm hoping to finish its pair by the end of this coming week. I'm spinning this on my Classy Squid Fiber Co. Classy Spindle. I don't believe these are being made anymore, but it has been the perfect spindle top whirl for this fiber. I have found this fiber really pretty easy to draft and spin. I did have to steam it open. I just did a little stovetop steam by putting it into a steam basket, like the kind you'd use for steaming vegetables. And I found after that I was easily able to draft and spin it. You can see the colors in this braid really well in this particular single. Grays, blues, purples, reds, pinks. It's all in here. Today's spinning time will be spent getting the rest of this into yarn form, and I hope to be able to show you that and finish that third single by the end of the episode, which will mean that I am ready for spinning for Tour de France Femmes. Had you heard of Tour de France Femmes before? Because a month and a half ago, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that a women's version of the Tour de France had been started, which I am smiling about because I'm very, very happy about that. It's my understanding that there are some incredible female cyclists around the world, and it's going to be really cool to watch for the first time and learn more about it. I only really got into the Tour de France cycling race on the men's side this year, and it was sort of a complement to my Tour de Fleece activity. I'm new to that. That's been going on forever. And so to have a second opportunity to do some focus spinning, it's a shorter format, 1 week instead of 3. But I'm really looking forward to just continuing it, because I found that in the last spin along, if you will, I looked forward to getting in my spinning each day, and it was lower key. I was part of the Making Stories, the small team of folks that were spinning, and it was so low key as to not be, an obligation. It was something I looked forward to. So I think this will be the same. Not to mention that if all goes well, I will have finished the 2 halves of what I plan for a sock project. So I'll have 2 skeins ready for some shorty socks that I'd like to knit with the yarn. So wish me luck on that. Either way, progress, progress, progress. We like progress. And one more spinning project I'll share. I challenged myself during the Tour de France as part of some of the challenge days to get back to my Turkish spindle spinning. So I have been very much accustomed to top whirl spindle spinning. It's just something that I practice a lot. It is the way that I learned to spin on a spindle to begin with. So of course that I got deeper into that kind of spinning than any other, but I have wanted to get better at Turkish spindle spinning. This is, in a way, this is bottom whirl type spinning, and it's something that it's just very different. It's a very different spinning style than top whirl spinning. And I've got this beautiful spindle from Snyder Spindles. It's a cross arm spindle that you essentially wind on a bit of yarn onto the shaft and then spin it to add twist to your yarn, and you draft. And once you've finished drafting, then you I should mention that there's a little half hitch, I think that's what it's called, a little half hitch knot here, a very simple to undo knot. So you undo the knot once you've spun a length of yarn, and then you wind on the yarn to the arms, and it's making what's called a turtle, a little turtle on it. So you wind on, and then once you've wound on, you continue by getting your yarn back up on the shaft, make your I'm trying to accommodate shadows and everything else so you can see. You make your half hitch up here again and continue spinning. I had not spent very much time on this at all. I did a tiny bit of spinning on it when I first bought it at the Southeastern Animal Fiber Fair a few years ago. I bought it directly from the makers at Snyder. I was so excited to have a Snyder spindle. They're quite a popular maker, and I tried it out in the parking lot after buying it. The style of spinning is so different for me that it was clumsy at first, and I'm not always a patient beginner. So I put it away for a long, long time. It sat on the shelf back there. So as part of Tour de France, I challenged myself to get back to it because I'm noticing that even small amounts of practice, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, a few spins on the spindle, I was getting better and better at it. I tried another fiber that didn't draft as easily. It was a wool mohair blend that was a bit sticky, and this I find works best with a very smooth drafting fiber. So I switched to this Rambouillet fiber, which is extremely spongy, fluffy, soft, drafts really easily. And having a smoother drafting fiber was the trick for me to make it smooth enough that I wanted to keep practicing. I've spun this Rambouillet before. I have a label here I'm looking at. So this is some Rambouillet that was a natural color, and then I dyed it with some acid dyes. So I spindle spun this fiber before, which means I was familiar with how it drafts, but I had used my standard top whirl spindle that I'm used to, and it let me know that, you know, this fiber is a nice one to work with, and so I went with it on the Snyder spindle. So no accountability post for this, except to say that I want to continue practicing spinning on this. I don't have any specific plans for the yarn when it's done. This is more about encouraging myself to continue learning how to use this format. And now that I've seen how lovely the yarn can be once it's spun up, this is chain plied. That's a good motivator to make some more of this squishy yarn. It's a color that I like, and it feels really nice in the hand, so let's make more of it. Why not? I'm going to take a break. It won't seem like a break for you when I come back, but I'm going to do a bit more knitting. I'm going to steam my top, as we talked about, and some spinning as well. So when you see me, it's very likely going to be a completely different time of day, and who knows, it could be another day altogether. We just never know as these things happen. But in the meantime, please feel free to comment below what you're working on. That is part of why I do this. I like to encourage conversation and connection. So if you have anything to share about your stitching or spinning or sewing or any making, always feel free to share that in the comments. I know that folks who come by here regularly also like to see what everyone else is working on or chatting about. So I will see you again very shortly. Why did I say that? It could be a while. I will see you again in a bit. Public accountability works sometimes. It is the same day as my previous recordings. There's some background noise. Drew is watching a movie. But I have 3 finished singles. 3-ply. Plying ready for Tour de France Femmes. Tour de Fleece Part 2. I'm very happy with all 3 of these. Very much looking forward to making this into a 3-ply. It's very fine singles. So it will take a while, but that's okay. I'm ready. Well, my friends, we are 2 for 2 today. I've actually come outside because I am ready to sit and knit. And Drew is watching a movie, as I said, so I wanted to come outside where there wasn't so much background noise, and it just finished raining here. It's a little bit drizzly, so can't keep the camera out here for too long. But that's okay. I don't need too long to show you that my second accountability project progress for today is complete. You will have seen by now the steaming process. I use my handheld steamer, which has been a really great investment. There we go. This is much closer to the actual color of the yarn. And I have clipped the shoulder pieces together just so I can kind of see the shape. This is how I will wear the top with the V-neck. So the V-neck will be at the front. And the square neck at the back. Steaming this has done 2 things. It relaxed everything so that I'm finding the actual movement of the stitches around the needle to be a lot easier. Things aren't like curled up and bunched up and kind of jumbled up on each other. And it also has given me a feel for how this yarn is when it's a bit more relaxed. I have to say it has softened up considerably just with that little bit of steam. And I noticed this in my swatch as well, but my swatch was knit on a smaller needle, so the fabric was a bit more stiff. This fabric is already starting to show the kind of drape that I was hoping for, and the softness is even better than I felt in the swatch because the stitches are a bit more open. So that's been a welcome result of steaming it. Which brings me to the wrap up. I am now at a point where I can continue knitting in the round, and there's still some sporting events on that I want to catch up on. I am really feeling the beautiful ease of a slow Sunday. I had the benefit of some telephone time with a sweet friend today and catching up and really feeling connected, and now I just want to sit and stitch and reflect on some of that conversation. I hope you have some of that in your life too, if that's something that you crave like I do. A slow Sunday is not always easy to come by, so I'm grateful for this one, and I feel prepared to pass some peaceful hours now with my project. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for the long distance encouragement, and thank you for being a community that welcomes this kind of exploration. I will see you again another time, hopefully sooner than later. In the meantime, take good care of yourselves. Bye for now, friends. Mwah. See you next time.